Hello and welcome back, everyone, to LCS Academy and the final game of the day. So sad to see it come.
Home
it is going to be
stretch.
Cloud9 Academy versus Team Liquid Academy. And what was that, Joshi?
What, home stretch?
Home stretch? Okay. I heard something completely different, but we could get back on track.
I can't even imagine what you would have misheard that for. So we're gonna leave that there before we embarrass ourselves too much on the day. But we got a great set of games, and we just have one more left as Cloud9 looking to 2-0 Team Liquid. And honestly, I think it's still very possible that we end up splitting this series. Team Liquid were very close to getting over the hill during that last one. If they can just be a little bit more aggressive and perhaps draft just a little bit more cohesively, I think they're in a great spot. I wasn't super thrilled by the Jhin in that composition, but I think they have plenty more opportunities as we look towards the rest of the series.
Yeah, taking a look at how this played out, it really looked like it was Team Liquid's game from the start. But we talked about it before, Joshi. Like, there is some other win conditions that come along, and one of those was the scaling game for Cloud9. Team Liquid, they look great early on. I just said that. You can see the replays right now of the plays they were able to make. They were solid. But Cloud9, man, you got to finish them faster.
Yeah, it's really tough when you have this kind of game where you have a lot of people that are going to be playing at range, and you know, as a top lane main, you're like, wow, I can't believe my opponents aren't just fighting me all the time. And this is a situation where Team Liquid really wished that there was just more fighting that Cloud9 was willing to opt into, but they only took good fights, and that just meant that Team Liquid had a really tough time actually closing this one out.
Yeah, Cloud9, as you can see here, getting wiped out. Not looking too good for them, but you know, we're looking at Senna, we're looking at Gangplank, we're looking at the late game for those champions, and this got deep into the 30-minute territory, and this is where things just completely swap around. It was Team Liquid manhandling Cloud9 for the longest time. One replay later, here's Cloud9 in Team Liquid's base.
Yeah, remember when Harry was 5-0-1? He was looking really good, ended up selling the Soul Stealer, which is a huge detriment. That is so much gold to be investing and then losing, because you only get a sellback value of something like 70% of what you bought it for, so, you know, it's like 300-400 gold minimum that he is just giving up in that whole situation. And ultimately it is rather impactful if you can't make some of those big plays. That one time where he ends up getting caught ends up turning the game kind of on its head, and Cloud9 was able to scale out from there.
So now I want to ask, what do you want to see different from these squads? Personally, for me, I would have to say the Jhin pick. Jan didn't look too good on it. It wasn't able to do too much in the team
He looked
fights.
okay. Yeah, right. I don't want to say like he played it particularly poorly. I just feel like the pick wasn't the. Yeah, I feel like he did about as well as I could have expected with that champion in this environment. The question that you just always got to look at from this point forward is, you know, is there something better that could have been done? I had a long conversation with Smax, another caster in the scene, about how important it was that Samira was added into the roster, because for the longest time, you know, if you wanted to play a dive composition and had an AD carry, you would just play something like an Ezreal, something that had really long range and just could participate from a really far way away. And then they added Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa could dive with the team. But Kai'Sa was the only one that could do that. So when Samira was added, you suddenly had another option, and now you have both of them available, and neither of them are at the peak of the meta right now, but sometimes you don't have to pick like what everybody thinks is the best thing. And we saw a little bit of that with the Jhin. Like, people weren't like, oh yeah, but everybody picked Jhin, this is the best character I can think of. But it is a situation where it might have been better to go for something that other people are also saying this would have been more cohesive.
I mean, Jan does have a quite diverse champion pool when it comes down to it. He's been playing a lot of the Swain lately. Ezreal, of course, in his wheelhouse, but that
I would have liked
also
the Swain.
includes Xayah, Tristana, and Kai'Sa. And yeah, the Swain would have been, honestly, that could have worked really well in the composition given.
Ziggs. like
You're just
seriously,
gonna shoot out
like
the mages
Ziggs.
now.
Oh, no, just like we said it before on why Ziggs is so good in a lot of these dive compositions is because you aren't necessarily putting yourself at risk, but you just throw with functionally infinite range during team fights a bomb at the enemy person. They either have to dodge it or take 800 damage. And in almost every dive situation, people are going to be living or dying within a margin of 800 damage. So Ziggs allows you to go for these dives in ways that a lot of other characters can't. And I think it actually might have pushed them over the edge in a lot of these team fights if you can just throw it at the enemy AD carry and just say, hey, dodge this.
Well, then what would be your flip? If you don't see the Jhin being as the biggest problem, what would you see on Team Liquid side personally? Because as I said, I go with the Jhin thing. I just think it didn't fit the composition as well. It's not a knock on Yan whatsoever. What do you think another change could have been?
Let's see, what else could they have possibly been, as we are saying that they are going to be on the same side and have an opportunity to run it back. I like the Renekton Xin Zhao combo quite a bit. I feel like the LeBlanc is something that made a lot of sense. It is starting to come back in, as it can play in a variety of ways, right? It just has a lot of damage that it can do, and it can split push, it can go for these picks, it can go for a lot of these team fights. What was their bottom lane? Nautilus? Like, Nautilus was fine. I personally like Leona a little bit more than Nautilus, just because they're a bit more tanky after the aftershock wears off, but they don't necessarily have the same kind of damage output and guaranteed engage that Nautilus does, so it is a little bit of a trade-off.
For Cloud9, I would like to see a little bit more of a contingency plan, because you're not always going to get towards those late stages of the game where, you know, you just, well, let's just scale, let's wait till 35 minutes and then outright stomp them then. It looked a little bit rough when King and Darshan weren't online, to say the least.
Yes, it really did. And I think the only thing that, like, I would have potentially looked at in this situation was maybe, like, a Lee Sin instead of the Gangplank to kind of bridge that gap. I think you can go head-to-head with the Renekton rather effectively during the top lane situation, and it will also allow you to just have a little bit more proactive playmaking opportunities later on in the game when compared to the Gangplank, who only has that slow. But the Senna already getting banned away, so Cloud9 is going to be forced onto at least a different style of scaling comp rather than just the guaranteed scaling of a Senna.
Yeah, so Senna banned away, as well as Gwen. Well, surprise, surprise, Gwen, Viego, they're either first pick, first ban. Nothing too shocking to see there. Karthus getting banned away as well.
Interesting. I mean, we were identifying Surenfire as one of these guys that like to play a lot of AP junglers. Right, he's another one of those fiddlesticks players. It's surprising to me that this is coming out at this point. It says to me that Cloud9 maybe have some scrim results that are going around at this point, because I would have never expected Karthus to be banned unless people knew that Cloud9 were playing it.
I mean, we said his pool. Rumble, Diana, Fiddlesticks, he said it best. He loves AP champions, so a question of if he's going to choose to go that within this next draft or not, and what that Karthus is about. But Nocturne getting banned away for the time being. Still wait to see more picks come out. As we said, a lot of those AP junglers are still on board. You'd have the Rumble, Diana, and Fiddlesticks. What else is really first pick prominent here? Lulu, as well as Karma. Still keeping an eye on those on the table. And doesn't look like a ban went through there.
Looks like it. I wonder what's the deal is there, but I am looking up Karthus stats right now. So currently in the major regions, it has been played 3 times by Jeskla in G2 versus Astralis, where it lost, Bwipo in Rogue versus Fnatic, where it won, and Broxa played it. It's FlyQuest versus CLG, and it also lost there. So a little bit surprising to see that the Karthus ban is coming through here. It definitely seems to be a bit of a Surenfire specialty, as the Xin Zhao is going to be picked up for our man. He will be reprising his role in the sequel.
He did look alright in the Xin Zhao. You can't knock him whatsoever. Some of the dives they chose worked out to their liking. The use of the ultimate does a lot in terms of just picking your fights when you want to. Still got a couple more seconds left on the clock for Cloud9. They're going to go back into the Trundle. They're very happy with that, which was the shaky part of their comp for me as I looked into that as a whole. Just I didn't see as much of an impact from the Trundle in comparison to how the LeBlanc the LeBlanc counterpick worked out with the Lissandra, as well as the scaling, the Karma able to keep them safe. Ooh, going with the Thresh, though. I definitely like the way that's going.
Yeah, so now they have a little bit better engage tools than we saw last time. It's not, you know, a guaranteed engage by any means, but you can just fish with death sentences, and you know, if you ever find them onto somebody, suddenly you have a non-committal engage. You're like, oh, does this land? Yep, okay. Do we want it? Yeah, so then you get 2 decision points that you can make. It's not just, oh, we're fighting, right, like Xin Zhao has to do. He just goes in. And at the same time, Varus does a very similar thing. You throw out the skill shot, if it lands, and you're like, okay, is this actually something we want? Yeah, and you have that split second to redecide, like, that's not actually what we want to do. And I really like this composition coming out from Team Liquid because it is so adaptable. This Varus can be built AP, on-hit, crit, or lethality. So you're basically picking like 3 champions that you can all play in slightly different ways.
So going to round out the draft with Kalista, at least for the first phase, being locked in by Cloud9 Academy. So they got the Kalista and Thresh combo, which, I mean, we heard Diamond earlier. They left Kalista up. They deserve to die. There's a lot of power you can get for that, and having the Thresh paired alongside it.
Yeah.
I like the draft so far from both squads, to be honest. They're very adaptable, very flexible, and have a lot of purpose when they do commit for fights.
It's always interesting to me to see what teams are willing to play Kalista and which teams are not, right? Like, when I do drafts for the teams that I help out with, I will typically really avoid Kalista, because personally, I just hate being the team that is forced to do things in the early game. And Kalista forces you to do things early on, or you're going to fall behind later in the game. And Cloud9 are showing that they are willing to play a much later scaling game, and now they are shifting completely to the opposite side, where they're saying, no, we're going to try and fight very early on in this game by picking one of the strongest AD carries early on in the game, and potentially trying to run over Yan and Isla.
So, the second phase of the draft starting to get rounded out now. Banning phase set, taking off the table as well as LeBlanc and Lucian. So, looking at what's left now, you still have the top lane yet to be picked out for Cloud9 Academy. Looking over at Team Liquid Academy, same thing there. As well as mid lane focus, not really coming out from both squads. So, keeping an eye on how the counter pick is going to go for Cloud9, if they're really going to specialize that for Darshan or not.
It'll be interesting. Darshan has had a lot of success with the counter picks, and I like this flex pick, right? You aren't committing this to the top lane or the mid lane at this point, and so you have a lot of freedom, and Team Liquid need to try and find 2 things that have at least even matchups with the Lee Sin, and there aren't a lot of champions that can do that also have strong matchup spreads. The Nocturne is one of them that is winning against Lee Sin and is even against most other things, whereas what else is there? Like, Akali can go even. It is definitely like a skill matchup that you're opting into, where if one of you gets ahead, it can tend to snowball really quickly. But other things just kind of go even with Lee Sin most of the time.
Yeah, so Akali getting locked in, waiting for that final pick to come out, because this is the one that's going to go for Dokla most likely. You still can flex around that Akali a little bit. So, 5 seconds left on the clock. They are edging towards the Jace, and they're happy to lock that one in. Yeah, Team Liquid grabbing the Jace.
That's bold. Oh, this is also bold. Both teams really throwing curveballs at this point at the end of the draft, so they are going to be opting into the Jace going likely up to the top lane for Dokla, one of his specialties as we previously identified, whereas Harry's going to be playing the Akali up against Copy's Twisted Fate. That's a really exciting matchup to really pay attention to, because these guys are trying to do such different things, and if Harry is on top of it, he might be able to use the Shuriken flip in order to follow Copy around the map.
Oh my god, you just reminded me that that's actually a thing that can happen. the whole cross-map play, just Harry takes the teleport alongside him. Yeah, that would be pretty wild to see. Getting a look at these compositions as a whole, I'm a little bit smitten by Cloud9 Academy's composition. Just from how it can go from place to place. There's so much mobility in your solo lanes, and the way they can impact the game can be absolutely tremendous.
I really like just having Twisted Fate as a character that you can play in the meta, because it allows you to have such a strong tempo-oriented composition, right? Instead of walking across the map, you're able to cheat that by just having your character suddenly teleporting to a different part, having a near guaranteed stun on a single target, and allowing the rest of the team to burst them down. The one thing that I might be a little bit worried is there's not the best follow-up for Cloud9. You can't always burst that person down, especially if you're going to be locking down somebody like the Akali or the Xin Zhao, who have tools in order to make themselves much harder to kill in this situation.
Do you remember the old days of Twisted Fate? When he was like in beta phase and his ultimate was a regular skill?
And you could teleport anywhere on the map. It was truly global. Yeah. I never got to play with terrifying. But I remember, like, when I first started playing, Twisted Fate was one of the first champions that I ever bought, and I had to return him because turns out the champion is hard for new players.
Who would have thought trying to guess out which card comes out and time it properly does take a little bit of time before you're at least an expert on it on the fly. But look at this, 5-man stack coming out from Cloud9 Academy. This looks like they're posturing around the back end here, trying to catch out where Ayla's going to be. Ayla has now spotted it, so has Jan, so yeah, no gank going to come through. 5-man stack doesn't work out.
Yeah, they do get caught out in this spot, and that does mean that people can back away and potentially get sweepers, because you know there's going to be a ward in one of those bushes. You know, it's a little bit of extra gold and experience that you can grab for yourselves, but it's not going to be giving them a whole lot of information on where the jungle is going to be starting. In fact, neither side currently has a good idea of where the enemy jungler is going to be for the next several early couple of waves. And I'm curious to see how people are going, because it looks like we might be getting what's the term, rotated starts instead of symmetrical starts, right? Where if you just like take the map in rotational symmetry rather than flip symmetry, you know, math.
Well, to see. I mean, right now Darshan starting over top end is... Oh my god, I thought Darshan was the jungler for a second. I was almost like, oh, he's going for the level 2 gank. But speaking of fights, here's one over on the bottom side. Ayla and Jan not really liking that trade whatsoever. That's the kind of threat that you have with the Thresh. Anytime that death sentence, that Flay can bring a lot of damage, especially the Flay with the auto.
The amount of burst that they just had there was pretty nutty, but this is what you got to be very careful of when there is a Callista on the other side. You can just blow somebody up incredibly quickly, and they will hit level 2 first. Yeah.
He jumps in. Dokla wants a piece of Darshan, and kind of funny watching Dokla versus Darshan. You know, both of these used to be very established LCS players. You know, Darshan with CLG, Dokla with Optic Gaming.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting thing that I remember. Do you remember the streamer Just Jace back in the day?
I don't.
Okay, so unsurprisingly, he was like a High Masters plus Jace one trick, right? And one of the things that I learned from him when I was starting to play Jace a lot more back in like Season 4, he would always make the claim that you don't ever actually want to use that combo right there at levels 2 and 3. You want to make sure you always have a second point in Q as well.
Yeah, Death Sentence comes out as well as the Flay, but the return was great. King got punished for going in on that.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll get back to the Jace point in a little bit, because Surenfire is going to be ganking him.
Yeah, Surenfire going for the gank, goes right after Dokla, gets teed up and knocked right back. Dokla getting lower, hasn't burst his flash yet, trying to get close enough, will be able to flash under the tower, but the flash is followed by Surenfire with the pillar. First blood going over to Cloud9.
So much patience there. He didn't use the pillar until Dokla had already flashed, meaning it was impossible for Dokla to get away with the red buff slow. So very well done, but we might see a repeat of that in the mid lane. No card for Copy.
Now Surenfire is going to be able to show up. Scuttle gets taken down. Surenfire throws the pillar and leaves Copy to be fed to the wolves. Dokla will grab that kill.
Well, there you go. Anyway, back to the Jace point, as I was trying to make, because I think it's actually really interesting. The mana expenditure that you give out, because Jace's mana pool is so small, you spend like 120 mana for about 150 damage, right? And that is about a third of your mana pool, where even if you hit it, suddenly it's very difficult to go for these longer trades, and you typically want a second point in it. But here we'll go back to Surenfire running down Dokla, and the biggest thing here to highlight is, again, the fact that he hasn't yet used Pillar until right now. He knows that if he can lock down the Jace with the Pillar after the flash, he can run him down. But if you use it before the flash, well, Jace just flashes over it and is probably going to be able to get out from that point, because then you also have to commit your flash in order to maybe get a kill.
No, the sad thing about this kill right here is, you know, Copy inside, when he was overextending, felt safe because he had Surenfire over on the top side of the map, not realizing that there was no way they could really duel that matchup against Armeo and Harry.
No, not at this point in the game. Like, if Copy had a card ready instead of having had just use it, maybe he gets out because he has access to his stuff. But this is not that. Armeo is actually on a ward here, and Darshan, importantly, still has a safeguard to get his way out, but this is a little bit of time that Armeo could be using to farm his camps that is being given over, and now... Okay, well, they're just going to push him off. There's no real dive threat here. They get
yeah, straight for the turret. Looking to take that down, trying to take a plate. Dokla trying to score one. We'll be able to grab it. Plate is shared between Dokla and Armeo, so not really wasting his time up there. It was a little bit of an extended visit, but they ultimately get gold nonetheless.
I'm curious. I would have to run some calculations back in like a VOD as to whether or not that was actually a net positive or negative, because they didn't actually deny a whole lot. His copy going down bottom.
Here we go. Destiny Gate comes out. Dead Sense, it's going to land flush and just destroy Ayla. But the turret finds its revenge. Isles goes down. Support for support. Jan shoots out the piercing arrow. Almost takes down Copy in the process. 1-for-1 trade between these two squads. But it's going to be C9 with the positional advantage.
Armeo is here, but Jan is just going to have to farm all of this underneath his turret. He is a little bit behind in terms of his CSing at this point, and overall, this game is a little bit of a reverse of what we saw in Game 1. The kills are rather even, but Cloud9 are the ones with a gold lead just off of this early laning phase, partly because this top lane, this Jay's getting put behind, suddenly much less effective than it might otherwise be, currently down against Elisa.
Here comes the pillar, going after Armeo, just to chase him away, but this is going to give Cloud9 access to that Scuttle Crab and position advantage over if they want to go after that Drake. Not going to go for it just yet, though. Not feeling too confident in that as Isles with the Hex Flash forward. Looking to try and find Jan, but not going to get too much. Cloud9 making the more proactive plays.
It should be good for Cloud9 because it is the kind of thing where they are the ones who are looking to build up an advantage because they are playing with this Callista. They're the ones who need to be ahead. They want to be able to snowball this pick, get some dives down, and as Simon said, you know, if you give this to the other team, you should be expecting to suffer early on, but so far, there hasn't been a whole lot of suffering done. This is the only spot where we've seen any at all, and we said, you know, it might be hard for some of these members to get punished when they actually hit by this gold card, but Isles does a good job at getting in range, and fortunately, takes too much damage from the turret shots, trades 1-for-1, and that is a pretty big loss for the side of Cloud9 in terms of how clean that could have been.
Still's a kill going to King. So it is an influx of gold over to him for that kill, but yeah, definitely could have been executed better, as now looking over towards his top side, it's Darshan shoving the wave as much as he can, getting that CS lead up against Dokla, who was punished earlier thanks to that gank from Schernfire. And look at that, Armeo's looking to come up here and try and help out the cause.
Yep. I mean, it's really tough for Dokla to take any of these small trades. He doesn't really want to do it for a couple of reasons. One, Lee Sin is an energy champ, not a mana champ, meaning his energy respawns so quickly, it regenerates so fast that he basically has infinite resources except in short bursts. The other part of it is that Darshan has a ton of sustain. Playing this Lee Sin, you just press Safeguard on yourself, you press E in the wave, and suddenly you heal back a lot of the damage that you had taken. Whereas Dokla, as a mana champion without sustain built into his kit, can't afford to give up any of these resources in these trades. He can only look for these 100-0 style of fights, and it means that Darshan has a lot more freedom to move around this lane in ways that Jace simply doesn't.
So Cloud9 now going to make the Dragon Call 9 minutes into this game. First Drake of the day is going to be a Cloud Drake. It'll be picked up with ease, having some backup with Isles. Schernfire able to grab that one. Keeping a close eye on that cooldown of Destiny Gate because it is up, and if it is up, you have to keep a close eye on where this mid laner copy is going to be.
There's not yet a ward here in the mid lane. Oftentimes against Twisted Fate, you'll see a ward put around what TF is standing right now in order to see if he cheats up to the top side of the map or cheats off down to the bottom side. And it's a big commitment in order to get that down, in order to have an idea of where he's going, but it can really save the bacon of everybody else on the rest of your team. And now, we're seeing a bit of a swapperoo. We are going to be seeing Team Liquid first to the punch in order to try and pick up this Rift Herald, and it doesn't look like Cloud9 is going to have anything to do in response to that.
Firmly in the hands of Team Liquid. one more poke, and they're able to grab it. So Rift Herald going the way of Team Liquid, Drake going the way of Cloud9. Now we're going to see the lane swap. Jan and Ayla headed over towards the top side. Are Mayo going to be camping around there as well?
Honestly, I worry that this isn't particularly good for Team Liquid unless they get a lot off of this Rift Herald, because Jace can't farm. He'll get dove, right? He cannot come anywhere near the turret, and they have to find something, and oh, they get Tremble!
Yeah, Chain of Corruption's going to land, but here comes the Destiny Gate. The response is going to be Copy showing up to the fight. The snare will not go through. Copy just there for motivational support at the moment. It's going to get Team Liquid to back off from go chasing any of those kills, but it's not going to stop them from getting the tower.
They'll get the turret, but that is something that they were likely going to get no matter what, as long as they just played the pressure game properly. But now they're going to be trading back on the far side of the map, as Kalista will struggle to take down a lot of these plates simply as they get the bonus armor and MR every time you take one down. But you don't get any kills on the other side of the map after committing 4 members up here and a teleport. Whereas on the other side of the map, King is getting a lot of acceleration off the solo plates he's picking up. So I feel like Cloud9 are coming out ahead of the play that Team Liquid just made.
It's playing to the win condition. You want King to get stronger. You want him to collect more gold. Well, there he goes shopping right now with the CS lead above Jan. Taking a look at the state of the game, I mean, we're 11 minutes in and the kills are dead even. The gold might as well be as well, but the state of the game, I can't help but to feel, is slightly starting to lean towards Cloud9. Even though Team Liquid have been proactive, I echo your sentiment completely. You can't give King that much free farm time.
They're doing quite well as they start moving around. We have a dragon spawning in a couple of minutes, which is going to be rather important for both of these teams, because they are going to be starting to sit at around that one mythic spot, right? You'll have a lot of tools to play with, and it'll be important to know how many mythic items are coming out on both teams at the right time, and of course, who's able to get there with all of your members faster, because we see a lot of poke coming out from Team Liquid, not as much from Cloud9, but Cloud9 has slightly better engage tools because they have Copy. You can get a guaranteed stun onto one person.
I feel like the play for Team Liquid is to try and force something out here and there. At least something to try and get Copy to burn that Destiny Gate, because when you're able to use it proactively, it can be such a menace. If you try and hide under your tower, and there's TEF with his Destiny Gate eyeball right above your head, gives you the gold card, and goodbye you go. Let's see if Team Liquid can play around that at least a little bit more tactfully, make sure that they don't end up with situations like they had in the bot lane when Copy was able to just head down there. But it does look like they're going to start setting up towards Drake. There's the Destiny Gate being used, looking to try and hunt down members of Team Liquid from the back end. You're going to have Copy, flashes over the wall, able to get the gold card onto Jan, but it's going to be a kill going through. Harry grabs the first one of the team fight. Diving deeper is going to be Harry, but there's the ultimate coming out of King. Able to land onto Harry. More spears going into the back of Harry. This is getting more and more deadly for him, and the Rend comes through. A double kill for King. Not done is Cloud9. They will hunt down the rest of Team Liquid to get 3 kills for 1.
Not the cleanest thing in the world, but hey, you can't argue with the results. They end up grabbing a bunch of kills, but crucially, that wasn't the fight that actually determines who's going to be picking up this dragon. Everybody going to be recalling, and they're going to be able to come out for the fight a second time without ultimates. But watch how Copy moves here. He goes too far and has to flash over the wall, and because the rest of Cloud9 are a little bit slow to actually get to the fight, a couple of people end up jumping the gun, and we see that Surenfire ends up dying to make sure the fight actually starts. Luckily, Lee Sin is a strong enough champion to run all these members down. Isles finds a double play, and they find themselves 3 kills on the backside of the fight. But now they're going to have to try and do it again with a composition that typically relies on their ultimates to get some of these fights started.
Knife's edge right there, back and forth, just diving under the tower, gets saved by the heal. Now Cloud9 setting up for the Drake. Taking a look at what they have, I mean, still have teleport available for Copy, so he can get over there to help out with the Drake situation if a team fight were to break out, but Team Liquid, they don't want to contest this anymore. They're just going to back off. It's going to be a lead going over to Cloud9 as they get 2 Drakes early, up 2 kills early, up 1k early.
The Oceans bring life. Eric, suddenly we're looking at an Ocean Soul game, and that can really turn things on its head. It's really hard to lose if you have an Ocean Soul. It's possible. We've definitely seen it done by plenty of teams before, but it makes it much more difficult. And as we see this Ocean Rift come to the forefront, we're going to start seeing Team Liquid try and make the claim that they will be better able to take some of these fights around these dragons now that King is potentially a bit past his prime, as he is currently sitting on potentially his strongest point for the rest of the game. Obviously, he gets stronger, like, in a raw amount. Like, if you tell me that, like, 6-item Callista is going to lose to a 2-item Callista, obviously that's ridiculous. But everybody else will likely be scaling faster than him and thereby overtaken with the way that he interacts with the huge damage that he'll be taking in short range.
Darshan on the split push goes after the turret in the bot lane and will be able to claim it, but it's matched by Dokla, who's going for a split push of his own. Recall comes in from Harry. Armeo looking to get closer for this fight, but a gold card stops him in his tracks. Darshan will keep split pushing, and so will Dokla on the outside, finally rejoining with his team, leaving the lane.
Bottom side. Oh, no.
Oh, a nice hook on Ayla. Ayla will not die, though. A flash to get away. He will survive. Armeo able to get some chip damage on the back end, but look who's here. Darshan has been coming on up with his roam. Dragons rages Armeo away and just says, peace, I'm out.
That was pretty funny. He just kicks him and just says, nope, I don't want any part of this. It is going to be enough to stop any additional fighting coming through. But the question is, for me, as this game starts to get longer and longer, right? Twisted Fate, he really needs a ton of AP in order to be super effective as a damage threat, right? Because his abilities are on a long enough cooldown that you might get 2, maybe 3 rotations of them off during a fight. If you hit everybody with your Q, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. But typically, you're not going to be hitting that many people with the Q. They're slow moving, they're relatively easy to dodge, and it can be really hard to get all 3 of the angles at the right spot to do damage to more than one person. The Lee Sin doesn't scale super well, the Callista doesn't scale super well, and while there's not exceedingly good scaling on the side of Team Liquid, Akali is always going to be a relevant threat, and Varus, as the game goes on, will continue to do a lot of poke damage to really prevent Cloud9 from being able to find the fights that they want.
So pretty nice setup out of Cloud9 here. He sent Darshan bottom to still draw attention. Then they cleared the wave in the mid lane so the minion wave would crash while they go after Rift Herald. And there's not a thing Team Liquid can do about it. They saw the recalls coming out of Team Liquid. So they timed that exactly around those, and they end up a Rift Herald ahead now, as they do have that to try and deconstruct any more towers. I'm still looking at those very juicy ones in the top lane and mid lane.
Oh yeah, I mean, we already touched on it previously in another game. When you take down the mid turret, you can get a lot more priority. You can build a lot more tempo off of taking that down. But it's really hard. There's a lot of wave clear available to Team Liquid between the Varus and the Jace in particular. And there's some, additional wave clear provided by the Karma and the Xin Zhao whenever these fights do come through. But as we start getting closer to the 20-minute mark, we're going to start paying more attention to the vision control around this Baron pit. You start to see many members of Team Liquid hanging out up here looking for potential opportunities to catch anybody out as they are warding.
Going after Isles, shoots a piercing arrow, not going to find too much. Recall starting to come out as Darshan does take his back, and it's quite a juicy purchase. He does have his Gore Drinker completed, already building his next components. All that being said, though, it's going to be Cloud9 getting priority over this Drake pit, which will be spawning quite soon. Darshan headed towards the bot lane.
How are they going to be playing this as they're starting to bring members through? Everybody has completed Mythics. Most people are working on their second item with at least one component at this point. One exception is going to be Isles, who still has not completed his first Mythic just quite yet, but he will have that ready rather soon, as they are going to be moving around. Isles taking a big old chunk, but honestly not as big as it likely could have been, as he gets hit by both a Jace Q and a Varus Q, and we're seeing Team Liquid take control of the area in the mid lane. It's very hard for Cloud9 to walk over, and if Team Liquid can get this fight started early, that might be a good spot, but they're going to get flanked.
Oh, it's going to be Cloud9 starting off. They go after Yan, and they take him down. King grabbing that kill. Now looking to go after Ayla. Will not be able to get the gold card on him. It does time out, and there are teammates there that you do not want to deal with. Shelly now hitting the Rift. Surenfire will place that into the mid lane to give something Team Liquid. give something to Team Liquid to have to handle as the rest of Cloud9 wail away on this Dragon. They're going to be at Soul Point now.
Very tough for Team Liquid to continue playing this through as we start to see a bunch of members of Cloud9 are starting to take off. Another kill is hand-fed to King in this last fight, and as they get another crash in the mid lane, it is very difficult. Is Armeo gonna go for this?
Oh! For a moment, I thought he was, but then he saw exactly what was right next to him. Armeo forced to use the ultimate because King just made it rain way too many autos. The Lantern, the BM, and the exit.
Yeah, I think King and I were thinking the same thing as like, okay, Armeo, I dare you to go for this. Like, at best, you stall King's recall by a couple of seconds. At worst, you end up dying to the fact that King still has the red buff available. And now, we're starting to see a transition to the top side of the map once again. There's no dragon to pick up for about 4 minutes, and Darshan is going to continue building a farm lead up against Dokla when the Lee Sin versus the Jace matchup that, again, was upset rather early on. We saw that the gank coming out from Surenfire really gave Darshan all the tools he needed to bully around his D opponent.
That bullying is continuing right now. That's over 2.5k lead for Cloud9 as they continue establishing control of the Rift. Now making their way out from the mid lane and spreading out that vision. Look, it is Christmas on the Rift right now with how many wards that we see placed by Cloud9, and they're putting more over towards this Baron pit.
Should be relatively easy for them to try and find some kind of fight, right? They're just going to be clearing out a lot of vision, and like, Isles and Surenfire are kind of like, how did they know I was there, right? Like, the answer is they saw it in a previous spot and didn't see you come out the opposite side. But ultimately, it does make you think a little bit like, where is vision that I don't know about? Oh, I didn't even realize this turret was that low.
Yeah, they did get another charge out from the Rift Herald when they were able to take that mid lane tower from earlier, so yeah, Cloud9 have done some work onto the Rift thus far, and you can see Copy trying to find a little bit more hovering around this river right now. Destiny Gate is available, but you can see there's a lot of caution coming out of Team Liquid, not going to isolate anyone.
I also want to note to all the fans at home right now that if Cloud9 do end up... Oh, Copy might get caught.
Oh, here we go. Harry going after Copy. Copy falls to about half health, able to throw out the gold card. Surenfire cannot get there in time. The assassin does her job. Now Harry going after Shurn as well. The teleport was forced out, but you're going to end up with a 4v5 situation in favor of Team Liquid. Now the engage comes through. Dokla coming out from the sidelines, goes straight after Isles, who gets destroyed by Yon. Surenfire getting caught by the 3-talent strike, will not get knocked up in time. Now Darshan able to land the Sonic Wave, but it's 3 members remaining for Cloud9. They can't really do much about this Baron contest of Team Liquid.
It would be so hard for Cloud9 to try and do anything, so they're going to opt into taking down at least the mid lane turret and maybe going for a little bit more. If they can stop this back, they might be able to kill Harry.
Darshan over the wall. Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, Dragon's Rage is not going to be enough because Harry will survive. Punted towards the team of Liquid. Shut down. Armeo will grab the kill, and it's another one down for C9. They are struggling to get anywhere near the Baron right now.
How many kills are they going to be getting picked up during these turns? We're starting to see Copy chilling around the side. They're going to be able to poke a little bit better. Darshan might have just needed to die there in order to make sure that everybody else was going to survive.
Oh, trying to find the engage. Harry goes in onto Surenfire, instantly backs off over the wall onto Copy, getting some good damage onto Copy, but there comes out the gold card. He's going to be able to reconvene with King. King will bully away Harry, and Team Liquid are stopped from their Baron attempt as C9, they fight tooth and nail to end that.
Yeah, Darshan really just needed to do something there in order to buy time for both Copy and Surenfire to respawn. They do stop the Baron and at least maintain their lead for now. And with another Dragon coming up in about a minute, Cloud9 know that if they can get to this, they don't even need to win the fight. They just need to win the flip for the Dragon Soul. And as long as they can get Surenfire into the pit, they're at least guaranteed a 50-50 for this. So Team Liquid are really kind of up against a wall because they didn't pick up that Baron in that last fight. They are not going to be able to pick up this mid lane turret and build extra priority to play with. And Copy does have access to the ultimate, so Team Liquid needs to be very careful. They're looking for a fight.
And here comes Cloud9. Destiny Gate onto the backline, going after Dokla. Dokla jumps right onto Coffee and destroys him, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Hopping back, it is going to be Armeo who uses the ultimate, able to get the 3 Talon Strike knockup. Ayla, oh so low over the wall, has to play very, very defensively. Jan trying to go Darshan into taking that resonating strike. Harry having to back off now as King challenges him. Now the rest of Team Liquid around the Dragon Pit. It's a 1-for-1 exchange thus far. Dokla for Copy. Team Liquid are the ones with priority onto the Drake, and they need it because this is Dragon Soul for Cloud9. If they are able to grab it, Surenfire wants to come over the wall. Surenfire wants to get the steal. Yes, flash available if he goes for it. Team Liquid are trying to draw the line. Surenfire getting closer and closer, and it goes down. Team Liquid are able to secure the Drake and deny Dragon Soul.
Well coordinated from Team Liquid to burst it out at the last moment in order to pick up the Dragon, and they didn't have the vision on Surenfire to know what was going on, but whoa, Copy opted into this fight. He ends up getting tagged by the Shuriken flip, and that, I mean, it wasn't the only thing that hurt him, but Surenfire going over to the wrong side of this wall is probably worse, because now he doesn't have any help, and Surenfire tries to fight the Akali on the wrong side. But we see just how effective Team Liquid's composition is at running people down in this spot. You have the Destiny Gate, you have, excuse me, wrong team. You have the Acceleration Gate, you have the Karma speed up, so everybody is super fast as they start to run around. And from here, it's just a question of how much are you committing to try and actually pick up the Baron versus how much you just want people to come over so you can kill them. Turns out, all you need to do is get people to come over so you can fight them. Darshan gets knocked back into the rest of the team and dies, and Surenfire and King, they just stand around and they know they can trickle in one by one as long as they can distract Team Liquid from taking down the Baron.
Yeah, I think it's still a good situation for Cloud9 at the end of that Baron fight. Just because they stopped Baron, that was their goal. That would be a huge momentum shift going over to Team Liquid, something they're very desperately trying to get as we get into the later stages of this game. Now Cloud9 going back to what's tried and true. They're sending Copy over towards that top side to split push. And speaking of split pushing, split push king himself, Darshan, going towards the bot lane, trying to keep Dokla distracted.
Thing is, as we already saw, Harry can kill Copy in the isolated 1v1, especially now that the turret is down and the lane is long. Be very careful as this Twisted Fate not to get tagged by the Shuriken flip at all, or you're going to have to blow at least one summoner. And now, Cloud9 is rotating all their members up top to potentially try and find isolated members and get themselves some extra kills.
Harry might need to make his recall right now. He doesn't realize that there's more members of Cloud9 just waiting. The Destiny Gate is going to come out, and it gets sidestepped. Copy will play that very, very well to stop Harry from advancing. There's a Lantern over the wall to try and keep Surenfire safe. He is going to be able to get over there. Meanwhile, Dokla is in the bot lane. He's going to be able to grab an outer for an outer. That is a trade between Team Liquid and Cloud9.
But as that map opens up a little bit, you have to ask which of these teams is better at picking the other, and the answer is they are both very good at it. Right, you have Jan's ultimate, you have the death sentence from Isles, you have Zinjao who can just jump on you, and then you have Twisted Fate with the ultimate to catch people out just kind of tentatively. It's like, is this guy caught out? Let me use the ultimate and find out who else is around. So both teams, as the map opens up, are going to be having more opportunities to try and find isolated members. And we have to remember, in about 2 minutes at this point, we have another Dragon Soul opportunity coming up for Cloud9. So Team Liquid, they have to flip the next 3 Dragons against Cloud9. They have to win all of these team fights. They have to win something in order to prevent Cloud9 from picking up the Ocean Soul and potentially getting to the point of no return.
Yeah, just waiting for that timer to show up. We still got a little bit before that Ocean Soul does appear, so it'll be a while before we get that team fight timer, Joshi. Meanwhile, Cloud9 are still happy establishing all of that vision towards Baron side. They know this is the major contention point for them, given it's the only neutral objective really available, and it's where they keep placing Copy over towards that top side and get the split push with Darshan once again going, and see how Team Liquid respond.
Let's think about what these teams are playing for right now. Team Liquid is currently 3rd in the standings, 4 wins, 2 ties, 2 losses. Cloud9, 3 wins, 3 ties, 2 losses, and that means that if Cloud9 do pick up this game, they improve to 4-3-2, whereas Team Liquid go to 4-2-3. It's a 2-game swing, putting Cloud9 1 game ahead of Team Liquid and changing their placement in the standings by at least 2 spots. So Cloud9 on the verge of jumping from 5th to 3rd at the very least.
It'll depend if Team Liquid can find this tie or not, but Cloud9 are starting to posture up for a potential gank here. Here comes Suredfire running down the mid lane, Copy waiting in the wings, but no engage going to come out from Cloud9. Team Liquid are quick to retreat once they saw that, what is that thing on the floor that Trundle puts? That terrain starts to show up, but no, we're not done just yet. Darshan over the wall trying to find more. And suddenly, Team Liquid are feeling the confidence as they're able to return fire onto Suredfire. Armeo gets closer and closer. Suredfire over the wall, just waiting to place that pillar down. Harry, meanwhile, on the flank, gets a little bit of damage onto Darshan, but here comes the death sentence on Armeo. Armeo will not be dropped, though. He is a tanky boy, and he comes out with the ultimate swinging. Now Harry going deep. It's going to be Dragon secured by Cloud9. They get the Ocean Soul. Team Liquid, they want to punish him for it. The slow onto Isles. King in a very rough situation, but going golden as Armeo. Suddenly, Team Liquid starting to look a little bit split as Armeo goes down. A 1-for-1 exchange. It's going to be King following as well. Death sentence goes out. Dokla is fighting. He's swinging. He's got the hammer. He's got the shot, but Darshan has the lantern as he's able to find his escape. Team Liquid, they claim 2 members. It costed them Armeo, but that is still Dragon Soul for Cloud9.
Oh boy, I would normally say that this is point of no return for Cloud9. They're so far ahead with an Ocean Soul, but I don't actually know if that's true in this situation. It is very difficult for them to actually put out enough damage against so many of these members. It is so fast for Team Liquid to actually go through a lot of these team fights that the extra regeneration might not be enough. But here we go, Cloud9 trying to stop Team Liquid from doing the Baron again.
Ooh, a nice sidestep coming out of Harry to dodge the Sonic Wave. The Lantern is out. Will Copy be able to grab it in time? He does, but it's going to cost him Darshan. You're only buying time for the inevitable as the rest of Team Liquid collapse onto Darshan and take him down. And it's bought some time for Cloud9 to try and get in position for this Baron, and it's going to get Team Liquid off of the Baron.
It was a 4v3, now it's a 5v4, but the health bars are not there. Or Team Liquid, they might have changed their mind. They say, yeah, we have enough people here. Copy going to have to use his ultimate to get in range here rather quickly. And King on the wrong side of the wall to do the damage necessary.
Oh, a lot of damage on the Dokla. Nice death sentence coming out of Isles. 6k health remains. Death sentence, waiting for another one to come through. As the Destiny Gate does come out. Very low health bars. Dokla especially. 2k health remains. Suredfire trying to get closer in time. Will he be able to steal? The answer is going to be no. It will be picked up by Team Liquid as Team Liquid turn their advancements onto Cloud9. They will take down one. They're going for King as well. He will be dethroned as he stands there golden glorious and now slain. No! The Lantern from Isles is clutch and keeps them alive. Suredfire only falling down means that Cloud9 have a chance at a defense.
And you can watch the health go up for Cloud9 during these fights because of the Ocean Soul whenever they're not getting hit. But whenever they are getting hit, it doesn't matter. It's not fast enough, the extra regen that you get. And so, Team Liquid are going to be winning back-to-back fights against a team with an Ocean Soul simply because they're at the spot where they're the ones who have outscaled. You're looking at the members of Cloud9's King, and he's struggling at this point. He's not able to get enough damage out. He can't get close enough to these members because he knows if he does, he's going to die.
If he can bring a lot of damage, but there's just so much threat. Joshi, King, 6-1-1 scoreline. It looks great, but it is hard-earned.
All right, we'll see this once again. This is a fight that Cloud9 thought that they were in a position to win. Darshan looking to try and get around and maybe find a kick onto somebody. He misses the Q, and then we also see the death sentence miss from Isles. And if they had landed either of those, it's possible that they would have found a 5v4 and potentially won the game off of it. But the game hinges on small things, and from here, like, King and Darshan do a good job at picking up the dragon while the rest of the team buys time. But it wasn't enough. They're too split. They've given up too much of their health bars in order to take this fight. They have to back away. They give over at least one member here, and oh my god, I didn't even realize that King didn't get over the wall and put himself in such an awkward spot for this fight.
Oh yeah, that was rough right there. He tried to use the blast plant. It was just a bad angle. And then the rest of this is just cleanup for Team Liquid. Dokla does so much damage when they're bunched up like that, and he's able to get a hammered Q.
ultimately, it is looking like Team Liquid are the ones that have turned the corner in this game. They've been able to hang on through the onslaught of Kalista, and now Kalista has gotten to late game, and they're the ones who are going to end up suffering. As we see Darshan splitting one side, Dokla splitting the other. One of these guys has Baron, and the other does not, and that is going to be a crucial difference as we see Dokla escorting minions towards a second-tier bottom lane turret, and Cloud9 going to struggle to really respond to that as well as anything else, as they are pushed into their own side of the base. That's bold.
Here we go, Cloud9 looking to take the engage here. Copy shows up at the Destiny Gate, but it's going to be Suredfire all by his lonesome. Now you're a man down. Cloud9 trying their best to stand out this defense.
Going to be a very tough defense at this point. So much poke coming through from Varus and Jace, and as we see the super minions, or not the super minions, but the canyon minions come through and do damage. Oh, he's just going to go in. Is he going too deep?
Yeah, he got Dragon's Raged over towards the Nexus Towers, but Harry will be able to slip and slide his way out. Inhibitor Tower now exposed, taking a lot of damage. It will fall. Team Liquid able to claim it. The sidestep.
Oh, he's in.
Now Darshan goes in deep, tries to find more, has to immediately safeguard out. There's the piercing arrow. There's the damage under Darshan that's chasing him, but another safeguard will be able to keep him safe. Team Liquid grab the inhibitor, and they get out.
Okay, it looks like Cloud9 might have one more chance here rather soon. We have another dragon spawning in just a couple of seconds, and it is even better than the Ocean Soul. It is the Elder Dragon. If you can pick up this last one, you actually get so much extra damage, and when you get the healing, you basically double the effectiveness of the Ocean Soul. One, because you're doing the extra damage, and two, because you're undoing the damage that the other team did. And with the extra execute, it should be enough to put Cloud9 over the edge. So now the question is going to become, can Suredfire win a smite fight up against Armeo? Can they even get into it? I don't even think Team Liquid are going to let them go for this Elder Dragon. I think they're just going to take the fight before the opportunity comes through, and it's going to be a brutal hold for Cloud9 if they want to do anything with the rest of this game.
Right now, Harry taking the recall. He does have teleport available. Expect him to join this fight right now.
Oh.
Here comes the pool, and there is the TP. Harry over on the top side. Was he spotted out, though? You can see Cloud9 starting to rotate towards that direction, but it will buy time for Team Liquid to gain priority over towards this Elder Drake. Harry heads up towards the mid lane, wants to push in with those super minions as Elder Drake is pulled out once again. Here come the piercing arrows. The shots are firing. No health bar is getting too low now. There's about 8k health remains. King does have the rend. He does have the arrows if they so need it, but the reset comes in. Armeo trying to get closer. Finally goes for the engage. Audacious charge onto Copy. Looking to get the 3-tailed strike, but he flashes over the wall to stay alive. Suredfire, however, gets dropped by Yon. And now Cloud9 are fighting with their backs against the wall. Dokla jumps in. The smash onto Copy. Looking to get those final autos, and he will send them to the grave. On the run, Armeo on the run. Yon can only do so much. Darshan will throw out the Sonic Wave, and it might be the last one he's thrown out this game. Getting slowed down. Harry dives forward, comes in with the ultimate, destroys Darshan, and somehow all 5 members of Team Liquid are still up while they delete Cloud9 from the Rift.
Oh my god, that's going to be it. Team Liquid are going to tie up this series after giving over the Ocean Soul. Every single one of them had a stopwatch that they were able to use during that last fight, and oh my god, was it so good. Keeping themselves up throughout the entire thing. They reset the fight, they reset all the aggro, and still, it didn't matter. There was not enough time for Cloud9 to take this fight. Suredfire is going to go down here at the end as he just gets dogpiled on an Isles. I mean, we talk about miracle plays. There is no way for Isles to turn this one around. It is going to be a 1-1 series as Team Liquid tie it up at the very end in order to defend their spot in 3rd place.
What a series, Joshi. Team Liquid are slowly starting to click, slowly starting to find their groove. I mean, they got the talent. They need to synergize as a team, and that was a demonstration of just what they needed to pull out of the bag, and it was tough. It was an exhausting game to go through, but man, they were able to tie it up 1-1 apiece.
Both teams opting into situations where they can be the ones to scale, and both teams able to outlast the other one's aggression. So ultimately, it's the kind of thing where you see where these more experienced teams are able to play for these longer style of games. They are willing to just say, hey, it's okay. We don't think that the other team is going to be good enough at being aggressive, and We just need to wait. So I'm excited to see that both teams are willing to go for these different styles, that they're willing to be both aggressive and defensive, and ultimately, when all is said and done, we get to see that both teams are still looking very good.
Stop showing the king play of him accidentally botching that blast plan. This is where it felt like things started to really turn. Even though you had the Ocean Soul already to Cloud9, Team Liquid were just the better team fighters at the end of the day. They would come together as a squad so much better than Cloud9 was. Cloud9 was looking to divide Team Liquid in a lot of these fights. Team Liquid, they held their ground. They picked out their targets with excellent priority, and that's why they're the ones standing victorious at the end of this 2-game series.
It becomes really confusing in these longer fights too, right? Surenfire is kind of the solo tank for the side of Cloud9, and unfortunately, he's not a particularly heavy crowd control tank, so everybody coming through from Team Liquid are able to just kind of run past him and just take him down. They can just ignore him, or they can just kill him because nobody else is able to support him. The only thing that they have to try and keep him alive is Isles has the Locket as well as the Dark Passage, and once those are gone, Surenfire is all on his own.
Crazy match, crazy series, 1-1 tie. It was some beautiful stuff, but we have to get to an interview now, Joshi. And I believe we have Harry on the line to join us here today. Harry, how are you doing? Congratulations on getting that final game win.
Hey, yeah, thank you. I'm doing good.
My first question is going to be about the top lane swap. You guys had Jenkins up there. He did go over to the LCS with the whole Afari thing. Dokla's been brought in from Wildcard. How's his performance been? How's he been meshing with the squad?
Yeah, he's doing really good right now. I think he has a similar style to Bob Jenkins, and we didn't take long to adjust with Dokla, so I think he's doing really well.
All right, well, we just saw two very different games coming out. I mean, they were both kind of a longer style of games, very macro-focused. A big question is about whether one team is going to find a large enough lead. How do you guys go back and reset after the first game, which was kind of this long, grueling game, in order to come back and turn things around in game two?
Yeah, I think we had game on, but I was very disappointed in myself because I think I had the ability to carry that game, but I threw, and I think that kind of hurt us in that game. But I just tried to mental reset for game two. I tried to stay more calmer, in the fights, for game two, and I think I played a lot better as well. So I think just a quick mental reset into just focusing, kind of just helped me.
How's the environment switch been? I know this is your first year on Team Liquid Academy. Before that, you're playing on a lot of Oceanic groups. How is it coming to the States and playing with Team Liquid?
Yeah, Tail's been really great to me. It's pretty different to us. You know, they're treating me really nicely. Practice has been really great. I've been enjoying it so far. I haven't been exploring US too much because of COVID and stuff, but everything has been going smooth, so I'm pretty satisfied.
One thing we do have to touch on, Eric and I used to spend a lot more time at the Alienware training facility back during previous times. One thing I have to ask is, how is the chef doing?
Oh, the chef?
Yeah, Manny.
Okay, we didn't have Manny anymore. We have different chefs for this year. Yeah, I think we have the old TSM chefs, but they've been really good. I think they're both Korean, and they provide us a lot of Korean food, and I do enjoy Korean food because I'm Korean. So I've been liking the food. I don't know about the other guys, but yeah, I think it's really good.
All right, I want to thank you for joining us, Harry. Congratulations on getting that 1-1 tie and that last final game victory, and wish you the best of luck in your future games.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that was a great series to end on, man. Yeah, no more Manny. That makes me sad too. I feel it.
It was a very exciting series between these two teams, long historied rivalry between both of them. And typically Cloud9 have often been the ones who have come up on top of it in the academy scene, but Team Liquid taking it right back on in, and as Harry said, we got to see both the good and the bad of what happens when you do try to play a little bit more of these scaling compositions. So very exciting to see that both of them are able to do it, both of them still maintain their spots in the running for playoffs, and as we start pressing towards the second half of the season, both of them looking to continue a streak of strong performances.
Okay, well, the California sun is killing me right now, so I think it's about time to call it a wrap.
Well, hold on, we got to see your shirt. What's the secret shirt?
Oh my god, the secret shirt. I'm sorry, Elton. Okay, there's a producer over at Riot right now who's been begging me to wear this. It's a shirt that we got together as a little bit of a meme. Elton's the Drip King, man. Shout out to Elton XT Monk. But we are going to wrap it up now. Yeah, thank you, Elton. Of course, you want to join us tomorrow. We got more action on the way. Same place, same time. But for the casting desk, my name is Eric Desirix Beltran. Joining me on the desk was Joshua Joshi Howard. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.